Jeba liko basebo na banyambo. Uli bulungi musaja wa Afrika. Shikamo. Vipi? Amakuru. Bite. Tobela. Lekae. Kenyaka musadi. Ketlo murekela koloi. Unale recommendation. Nurumele recommendation na musadi. Musadi yo mobotse. Sanbonani. Ngiyozela. Ngikatele. Ngilambile. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'm exhausted today. I'm tired. I got this thing in my eye. Look at this. See that? Bad. See, look at this. Look at that. I'm not supposed to touch here and there, right? That was bad. Anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you very much for stopping here. I appreciate you. I know the vibe is natural. It's family. We spend time together. And I appreciate you for coming back every single day. A lot of you guys come twice a day, 3 times a day. We're making this much bigger, and it's going bigger and bigger. It's great. You want to know about Africa? You're at the right place, my brother. Okay. You want to know news on the motherland? This is where we are. I know you can find some other videos on YouTube and stuff. They're nice, but not this nice. Not at all. Thank you very much. If you here for the first time, my name is Zack. Great to know you. I know I look like your cousin. You look like mine, surely. That's why we're together. And today we're going to talk about something very, very interesting. We're going to dive into Namibia. Namibia has hit the United States of America right on the jaw really bad. And we're going to find out about that right now. So Namibia is this country right here. Okay. See on the map. Southern West Africa. Beautiful place, lovely people. In Namibia, it's probably one of the only place where you're gonna find the desert meeting the ocean. Look at this. The desert meeting the ocean. How beautiful. Certainly somewhere I would suggest you go visit. Lovely, very calm people, very paused place, lovely place. Namibia's got history, unfortunately, negative as well. One of the countries that was genocided. First country to get genocide in Africa. And by the Germans, they came to Africa trying to take over. You know how they do it. Take over the country. Force you to do things the way they want. They unalived many, many people. Really bad. They actually took people's head back to Germany. That's how bad it was. They almost finished one tribe completely. They took chopped head back to Germany to put in museums. That's how they see you. You know what I mean? That's why when I say to you, the people from the country you don't name, if ever Germany had to put their head in the name of history in museums, would people accept that? They wouldn't accept that, right? But right up until now, there are heads of people like yourself in museums in Germany. And Germany has never acknowledged the genocide they did. Anyway, Namibia, we're talking about this today. Namibia has revoked visa access to more than 30 countries, my brother. No more visas for you. No more visas for you, including the United States of America and the UK. Congratulations. Pika Magofi. Wow, yeah. Congratulations to Namibia. Okay, first of all, Namibia's got a brand new president. It's this beautiful lady, Netumbo Nandi Daitwa. I know I just murdered the name. Let me try again. Netumbo Nandi Daitwa. She's a 73-year-old, if I'm not mistaken, or 75, one of the two. She's a senior citizen, but very apt, very strong. And she just entered office, like literally. Brand new president. One of the first things she's doing, no more visa-free access for you guys. Very similar thing as what Trump did. He said, as soon as I get into the country, I'm going to do the biggest mass deportation of foreigners. Well, she's just entering and say, okay, no more visa-free for you. Okay, so the decision has taken place in the Namibian cabinet. The United States and the UK are among more than 30 countries who will no longer enjoy visa-free in Namibia as for 1st April. So from 1st of April, no more visa-free for them. So the US and the UK enjoy visa-free entry into 180 countries, imagine. 180 countries. So it's like, I don't want you to come to my country because you come from a shithole country, but I can come to your country. I can go through 180 countries. And if you take that away from me, then I perceive you as a negative, anti-American, dangerous to our society, dangerous to our culture kind of human being. I can come to your place, no problem. Don't ask me for visa. I'm American. But you cannot come here. Well, not in Namibia, my brother. Not in Namibia. Until now, most European countries have also enjoyed visa-free entry to the country, including the biggest tourist source, Germany. So Germany, even though they've done lots of negative things in Namibia, they're still the biggest tourist source. However, even though tourism is one of the major money bringer in Namibia, they are willing to pay the price. So Germans are not going to get visa-free in Namibia anymore. You see the level of self-respect. Even though you bring in money into my house, in the name of honor and dignity, because I don't have access to your house, you are not coming into my house the way you want. No more. And why she's done this? The country said the main driver to this decision was a lack of reciprocity for Namibian passport. I mean, I can't let you come into my house however you want because I want to be nice. Come, enjoy my place. Namibia's got some of the most beautiful landscape you can see. Beautiful view, beautiful tourism, beautiful parks, lions, gepards, giraffe, leopards, buffaloes, you name it, elephants. Beautiful place. Beautiful place for tourism. Beautiful people. And they've allowed many countries to come into the country with no visas. However, you're not reciprocating. I mean, why? I mean, if I'm kind with you, what does it cost you to be kind with me back? Does it cost you something? Well, you're not superior to me if that's what you think. Oh, no, they're just little black people. We can go to the black people's country, no problem. There ain't no black people coming in America. We can't let no black people come in America like that. We ain't gonna do that. You know what I mean? Crazy stuff. Well, the U.S. Embassy in Namibia has written a letter or, something to the people. They say beginning of April 1st, Namibia government will require U.S. citizen tourists to obtain a visa prior to entering the country. Visitors are recommended to apply for their visa in advance of planned travel to Namibia. So, yeah, it's happening, fellas. No more playing with us. Around 23,000 U.S. citizens visit Namibia annually. Well, it's not a lot, but it's 23,000 people who, from now, going to need a visa. That's how you make yourself respected. Respect is everything. Respect, respect, respect. I talk about respect every single day. You got to make yourself respected. And it's very sad. It's not just Namibia. Many African countries allow Europeans to come in with no visa at all. They will come in and get a visa. Sorry about that. They will come in and get a visa at the door. It's a 3-month visa, basically. They arrive and say, okay, I'm here. British people go to South Africa. They get immediately 3 months visa. Immediately, no background checkup. No, where did you sleep 3 months ago? Have you ever assisted in any Al Qaeda? Yeah. They ask you this kind of question. My brother, have you ever applied for a visa to the United States of America? You'll be shocked. Have you ever been part of a terrorist group? Have you ever been assisted in a terrorist? Have you ever been assisted in a ritual? Yeah, crazy questions. You have to fill in about 60 pages. Do you know how to manipulate a weapon? Have you ever shot a weapon with your tongue? Some crazy stuff like that. Have you ever put your finger in? I'm telling you, put your finger in what? Well, many European countries, Belgium, France, Germany, and I believe some other countries, can go to South Africa with no visa. Yeah, no visa. 90 days, they will stay with no visa. And many of these people actually have moved to South Africa, especially in Cape Town. They stay in Cape Town because they earn money in dollars or euros. They rent some of the highest, the high range, nicest flagship spaces, beautiful places. And you know what has occurred now? Because there are many people from Europe that's living in South Africa, especially in Cape Town. They've driven the price very high. Because the owners of the houses, the owners of the A and B, whatever you call that thing, now they know they can make much more money with Europeans, these travelers, than they make with the locals. Now, the price is high. You either can afford it or you can't. It's made things very difficult for people. Now, why do you allow these people to come into your country for free? Meanwhile, you, as an African, need to apply for a visa. Have you ever applied for a visa? Have you ever been refused? I've been refused visas twice in my life. It's disgraceful. My brother, you may need to go see a counselor or somebody to speak to your mind, because it's rejection. You feel dirty, worthless. You feel like you don't deserve. No, you cannot come. You're not worthy. It's not nice at all. Not a nice feeling at all. And Africans are allowing this. Some Africans cannot go to South Africa because what are they doing there? They're illegal immigrants. I mean, there are plenty of illegal immigrants in South Africa that are white, that are not black, but nobody checks them because we have this inferiority complex. Most Africans do have that, except that one perhaps country in East Africa. I'm not going to name that country. If they find you with no visa, whether you're black or white, they're putting you back to they're going to send you back. They don't give a continental where you come from. South Africa is one of the places they never check white people. They will rarely, in very rare case, stop a white man's car to check it. A very rare case, and we're telling the truth. If there is 3 cars going where there's one white person and 2 blacks, they will stop the black, and the white person will probably pass. They do stop them from time to time, but in most cases, it's that he's white, might not do anything wrong. Again, there's another thing here. Okay, there's a lot of complaints that we've seen over the years amongst South Africans and Namibians especially. South Africa many years ago used to enjoy visa-free to many countries such as Britain, I believe Canada, Ireland, and some other countries. Same for Namibia. So if you have a South African passport or Namibian passport, you could travel to Canada visa-free. Okay, you just buy a ticket and you go. And many black South Africans have complained about Nigerians, saying, well, the reason why we cannot get a visa-free to some of these countries anymore is because Nigerians have abused our passports. Referring to the fact that some Nigerians will go to other countries, and in this case, Namibia or South Africa, marry a South African or a Namibian lady, finally acquire a South African passport, then travel to some of these countries. And once they get there, they do mayhem because, unfortunately, it's not me. Don't come for me. Go check online and see all things that Nigerians do. Everybody does it, but in this specific case, we're talking about Nigerians. If you trigger them, sorry, my brother, you will not stop me from telling the truth. You can't even beat me. Can you beat me up? How can you beat me up? With the punch or with the kick? Anyway, let's get back on track. So they accuse Nigerians of going to these countries and doing negative things, money laundering, not paying tax, a lot of typical stuff, drugs and all that stuff. And therefore, these countries have finally decided, because we see many of these, convicts or whoever carrying South African or Namibian passports, but originally from Nigeria, we will not allow anymore because it seems like South Africa and Namibia are the weakest link. They're allowing just people from other places in Africa who are naturally criminals or who tend to show criminality to come into our country, where we have allowed them to come and do things. I mean, they have a point. We allow you to come to our country visa-free, but you giving some other people from other countries your passport, and they're using it for their own purpose in things that are not necessarily legal. You have to find a solution to that. Either you're going to stop issuing those passports or we're going to close the door. Well, they decided to close the door. And many black South Africans have spoken about this, saying, Nigerians come to our country, they do this, they do that. They don't really marry our women because they love them. They marry them for papers so they can travel. Because it's difficult to get a visa with a Nigerian passport. Just so you know. I'm sure you know that. It's very difficult, very, very difficult to get a visa to Britain. It's almost impossible. Now, it's easier to get a Ugandan girl, get a passport, Kenyan or South African. Anyway, now, it sounds like a logical thing to say that they've messed up our passport credibility, and that's the reason why we're not getting visas anymore. Well, there's another theory that I think it's necessary to point out. Remember, by the time Europeans allowed South Africans and Namibians, let's focus on South Africans in this instance, to come into Europe with no visa, or Canada, it was because at the time, South Africa was run by white people. Yes, during apartheid. And obviously, they are white Africans, but they are their cousins. Okay? They will always fight for them. They will always protect them. You just dare go do them something wrong. You will see what Europe and America will do to you. Obviously, they wanted to allow white people of South Africa to travel because nobody thought that black South African wanted to travel or going to Europe. Or for that matter, they didn't think that it would come a time where black South African would actually want to travel like that. So, even though the first theory sounds plausible, you cannot neglect the second theory that clearly says now it's not a white-run country anymore. It's a black-run country. What is our interest in issuing you visas or allowing you to come into our country visa-free? We need to scrutinize you now because you're not like us. So, as much as you may blame some of the Nigerians for doing things that are negative, which is recorded and it's true, we see videos on TikTok and stuff like that. You know, somebody say, I'm South African, so, oh, my brother, no, you know what I mean? Okay, and then arrested with bags of things. It's bad. It's okay to get somebody's passport and do good things. But if you get somebody's passport and through their passport you do negative things, people will judge you. They will start pointing fingers at you. They will generalize whether you like it or not. And innocent people will pay the price of it. Now, the issue is you should not forget the fact that Europe now knows South Africa is not run by black people anymore. Okay, so they have no reason to allow you to go visa-free. It's not because they like you. They don't like you more than they like Nigerians. They like their brothers. Okay? It's illogical. Don't try to find any underline under whatever. It's clear. Okay? A Chinese person will most likely choose a Japanese over you. Same for the Japanese. So don't get twisted or, he doesn't like me because I come from well, he's Chinese, Japanese. What do you want? They all use that stuff to eat. Respect is one of the most important things ever. You need to have respect. Congratulations to this lady. She's clearly a reflection of a strong leader. Let me remind you, in 2017, US President Donald Trump was ridiculed for infamously mispronouncing Namibia as Nambia.
Ghana, Guinea, Nambia.
Trump saying Namibia is Nambia. Why do we want to go to Nambia? He doesn't give a continental about Nambia. And then later on he said, you're sending money to some country named Lesotho. Nobody knows. I mean,
$8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of.
Why do you give them visa for free? They clearly don't respect you. Africa need to come together. Same way Europeans have come together. Africa need to do that. Maybe we need to keep the Nigerians out because they still have a lot of things to resolve. And I'm sorry if you're triggered. That's the reality. Yeah, as much as we want to unite, we can have crime and stuff like that. And crime is not an exclusivity of Nigerians. Sorry about that. Sorry to deceive other people that are Nigerian haters. Many people do crime. Zimbabweans are big crime mecca. South African, black do their specific type of crime. Everybody, Ugandans maybe, yeah, it's different levels of crime. But however, people will rather keep their own crime than accept your kind of crime in the country. You rather keep your own child who's troublesome than having in your house the neighbor's child who's very difficult. No, keep your dirty kids at your house. I'm going to deal with mine. Namibia, very strong. Congratulations for cancelling this. US released the visa waivers, and many of the countries in Africa were not allowed. They are deporting people, they are pushing people back, and I think Africans should respect themselves. I also believe South Africa, amongst many other countries, should also tighten a little bit. Okay, I understand Mr. Ramaphosa is a very wise, perhaps we don't understand his strategy. He's not been pushing back against America, but I think there should be a level of respect. And this is valid for all other African countries. Let me know how you feel about this. It was a great pleasure. Is it good that she said no more 30 countries, European countries, bye-bye? In fact, let me just tell you, many African countries still enjoy visa-free. In Namibia, including South Africa, Angola, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and many other countries are not affected by this. So if I let you in my house, well, you better let me in too. Because if you don't let me in, there's no reason for me to let you in. You're not special. That's what she's saying. The ex-French president, he's going to jail for 10 years. My brother, France is not your random shithole country. No doubt about that. And then we're going to go to Cameroon. Well, Cameroon is a shithole country. No, I'm just kidding. In Cameroon, 13 foreign nationals from Madagascar and the DRC have been found blocked in a human traffic ring in Cameroon. So Cameroonians running human trafficking organization in Cameroon. Crazy stuff. You gotta find out about that. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. You are very much appreciated. We're gonna make very quick. Okay. Now, Nicolas Sarkozy, this man right here, very charismatic, ex-president of France, he's going to jail for 10 years. I know, that's kind of thing don't happen in Africa. In Africa, usually, if a president was bad, he's either going to get killed by coup d'etat, or he's going to exile, or nothing ever is going to happen to him. But not in France. Well, in France, if you do bad things, you might have to pay for it, even if you're a president. As opposed to African presidents that are kings, there's nothing you can do to a president. There's nothing you can try to organize against a president. The president is God. That's the truth. So, France ex-president Nicolas Sarkozy is in trial and he's probably going to go to jail for 10 years. After 10 weeks of trial, France's financial prosecutor are set to present their case against the former president Nicolas Sarkozy and his co-defendant, including 3 ex-ministers, starting Tuesday afternoon. The prosecution will outline its sentencing request over 2.5 days, with final recommendation expected on Thursday. Sarkozy, 70 years old, is accused of striking a corruption pact with the Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi in late 2005 to finance his victorious 2007 presidential campaign, an allegation he has denied from the outset. Salif al-Islam Gaddafi, testimony, son of Muammar Gaddafi, claimed he was pressured by Sarkozy intermediaries to alter his testimony regarding the alleged Libyan financing the 2007 campaign. It's crazy stuff, okay, but I'm going to try to do very quickly because we don't have a lot of time. Now, Nicolas Sarkozy is this guy. Before he became president, he was a minister of interior of France. He took a flight to Libya to meet the president of Libya at the time, Muammar Gaddafi. The goal was to discuss with the Libyan president saying, listen, we know that a lot of Africans are trying to get into Europe, and most of them go through Libya. Can you do us a favor and stop them? By stop them, you know what it means. You know, taking these people, beating them up, putting them in jail, making their lives as uncomfortable as possible so that they denounce and renounce their objectives and goals of going to Europe.
Si on veut contrôler les choses sur la Méditerranée, on a besoin, avec l'Algérie, avec le Maroc, avec la Tunisie et avec la Libye, d'une coopération.
After Sarkozy saw Gaddafi, he had a little conversation with Muammar Gaddafi. He pulled him to the side and said, hey, listen, let's talk about this. In that discussion, apparently Sarkozy has proposed to Gaddafi something very interesting. He said, your reputation is not very good across the world. In an international scene, people don't see you really well. Let me try to do a good job of cleaning your image up internationally, and you can finance me, finance me because I'm trying to run the election so I can become president. And when I become president, I'll even do a much better job. So Gaddafi heard that. He was like, oh, that's not a bad idea. Then Sarkozy left. After Sarkozy left, he sent some of his people to Gaddafi, coming and getting money in bags, dollars in bags. You need to have cash, my brother. Don't do everything in electronics. They're going to trace everything. Please don't do that. Just keep bags, like the president of South Africa, keeping money under the chairs. Anyway, let's get back on track. So many of Sarkozy people went to Libya to get money for Sarkozy presidential campaign. The amount of money accumulated around $50 million. That's the money that Gaddafi sent to Sarkozy. And Sarkozy used that money for his election, and he had won the election. After winning the election, Sarkozy changed his view and made Gaddafi his biggest enemy. After doing that, the son of Gaddafi said openly, saying, why is Sarkozy doing this? Why is he attacking my father? Because my father gave him the money to win the election.
Ça, c'est le document de projet, si j'ose dire, d'appui ou de soutien financier à la campagne présidentielle du président Sarkozy.
Qu'est-ce qu'il dit, ce document?
Nous vous demandons de verser la somme de 50 millions d'euros ici.
Then that is when Sarkozy pushed very hard because he didn't want the secret to come out, asking the United States of America to come with him to go and bombard Libya. That is how they destroyed Libya and they took this man out. But let's get back to track so you can understand the entire history. Why did we get to that? Well, Muammar Gaddafi has always been a big fan of his own continent. He loves Africa. He loves Libya. Well, Libya for many, many years was very close to international businesses, meaning the Libyan wanted to run Libya as itself. There was no international companies such as American and European company working in Libya because Gaddafi did not want to be exploited by imperialism. So he tried to construct a system that was appropriate for Africans in Libya. He didn't want to cooperate with Americans and other people because he knew they were coming to Libya to loot and steal. And Americans and British and all of them did not like that. In many occasions, they actually thought about opportunities to go and topple Gaddafi in Libya. So, in other words, companies like KFC, McDonald's, I'm just giving you things you're going to understand, Pizza Hut and all that stuff, Walmart, were not allowed in Libya at all. Does that remind you something? Yes, North Korea, very similar. Okay, maybe not the policies, but international businesses were not allowed in Libya. Now, was Libya struggling? No, Libya was not struggling. Libya had abundance of oil in the country. So Gaddafi could run and make sure the oil was profiting to the human beings in Libya. Matter of fact, Libya was not a democracy, but in Libya, the revenue of oil after being sold externally was given in percentage to the population of Libya. They come to your door and knock, hey brother, are you awake? We are paying you a percentage for the oil we sold to the foreigners. That's how Libyans live. So Libyans literally had nothing to worry about. Gaddafi did a tremendous job with the country. Gaddafi made the biggest irrigation project ever in the world. So Libya itself was a very dry country in the beginning. What Gaddafi did, people couldn't do agriculture or any other thing. He started the biggest irrigation project, bringing water from the sea to the continent. So he made a big hole of water from the sea into the country. That changed the entire landscape of Libya, making it flourishing. That is when he encouraged people to launch themselves into agricultural activities. So what he did was, you can come and say you want to be an agriculturer, a farmer. We're going to give you equipment. We're going to give you land. We're going to give you funding. We're going to give you a trainer to train you. You don't have to pay anything. You just work and produce bananas, potatoes, ananas, whatever. Do it. And when you feel like you want to give some money back, you can do that. That's what Gaddafi did for his people. In Libya, whenever a couple made a child, the government will give them $5,000. That was Libya. And an apartment. So I'm not going to dive into the depth of it because there's a lot of things. Gaddafi did a lot of good things for Libyans and for Africans. Matter of fact, Africa many years ago never used to have satellites for telecommunication. You need a satellite for telecommunication to make a phone call. Back in time, Africans used a satellite from Europe where they paid about $400 million to use that satellite. In other words, in your country, let's say you lived in a capital, in order for you to make a phone call to the person living in the next house, your phone call will first go to Europe, get routed by a European satellite, then get back to your country. So you make a phone call, instead of leaving your house to the next house, it first goes to Europe and gets routed to your house. Because Africans did not have a satellite of telecommunication and it was very expensive. What happened later was the Africans came together saying, let's try to put money together so we can buy a satellite. As you know, I'm trying to make it very fast. Africans cannot come together for nothing, for shit. Sorry. The thing where Africans come together for is when you want to destroy somebody else. Then they're going to come. When they say, let's put $10 so we can buy a satellite. Nobody wants to do it. People are too busy. Their mothers is sick in the hospital. They don't have time. It's always stories. But when it comes to, okay, let's destroy, then they go destroy and burn whoever's house, trying to progress in life. Now, anyway, with the Africans, it was the same thing. They couldn't put together $500 million to buy their own satellite. Gaddafi said, I'm going to give you $400 million. How about that? From my own money. You Africans, black sub-Saharan Africans, put together 100 million. He could have paid 500 million, but he wanted you not to be lazy. That's when Africans could then have their own satellites and the calls could be routed into South Africa and the price came drastically down. Anyway, let's continue. Now, after that, Libya of Gaddafi had some project, a project for nuclear. He was planning on building his nuclear bomb as well for themselves, for protection purpose. Somebody convinced him, said, listen, you need to be good to America and all that. You need to stop that project. Okay, you need to open the door to Americans and Western nations and companies. And that's how you're going to be, I believe it's probably going to be Sarkozy that told him all of that. Libya in 2000 opened its door to all these big companies. They all entered. Even he wasn't very trusting of them. He still condemned imperialism. He opened the door eventually to foreign companies to operate in Libya. He abandoned his project of having a nuclear bomb in Libya. Then guess what happened later? That is when Sarkozy and his friend Obama went and destroyed Libya. They unalived the president and took him out. But then later on, the sons of the Libyan president said openly on many interviews, Sarkozy is a weird human being because he came to our house and he received money, about $50 million from my father. And that's the reason, or at least one of the reasons why he won the elections. And it's shocking to see him command an operation to destroy my father.
Firstly, Sarkozy must repay to Libya the money he took for his election campaign. We financed his election campaign and we have all the details and are ready to publish them. The first thing we ask of this clown Sarkozy is that he repay the money to the Libyan people. We helped him become president so he'd help the Libyan people, but he's disappointed us, and very soon we'll publish all the details and the documents and banking payslips.
Karma, is it a reality? Do you believe if something wrong is done, you're going to pay for it? I don't know, but is this a reality? Now, a case was opened. Prosecution came after Sarkozy for receiving money from a Libyan president, calling it a case of corruption pact with the Libyan president in 2005. So he's probably going to go to jail for 10 years and pay about $375,000 fine for that. That's the reality of Libya. I know I've done it very quickly so you can understand. Maybe next time, if you're very interested in this story, say we want the full package. And I'm going to work on a very slow video of about 45 minutes. explaining to you what had happened in Libya in detail. So that's what it is, fellas. Ex-president of France, Sarkozy, even though he defended himself many times on TV, saying that he never took any money, finally they have proof. They have transactional proofs. You know, they bought houses at an expensive price. You know how they do money laundering. They will buy a house that's very cheap, but at a very expensive price, just to show you that, So they've traced him. They know exactly what happened, and now it's sad to him. It's sad time. Let me know how you feel about this. Is this a good pleasure? Is this a good pleasure for you? Gaddafi was a great man of Africa. Gaddafi wanted Africa to come together. Gaddafi said Africans should utilize what they have as riches, such as gold. Gaddafi said we should use gold for trade and stop using paper money, because whoever came up with the paper money idea, who started that story, who printed papers and said this, for now, this paper's got value. Value used to be gold and riches. Gaddafi said, let's create a currency based in gold. We'll call it the dinar. Let's exchange in gold and let's see who is actually rich in this world and who is poor. Well, that's what's going to scramble the dollar. It was going to destroy European Western civilization, because Africans and people that really have gold would have been the richest people in the world. That's one of the reasons why they took him out. But they probably told you it's a dictator who was unaliving his people. Remember that speech from Obama? Listen to this.
The United States and the world faced a choice. Gaddafi declared he would show no mercy to his own people. He compared them to rats and threatened to go door to door to inflict punishment.
Which people? After they took out Gaddafi, the same people they imported to take out Gaddafi are the same people that have become the terror in that space. Libya is ungovernable right now. It's the wild, wild west. It's bad. They've destroyed it. This is Libya before, while Gaddafi was still alive. And this is Libya after the democracy, the Western democracy.
Have you ever been in a situation with friends or in a class where you are a leader or somebody stronger than all of you that tells you what to do, like wants to guide you and direct you? I don't know if you've experienced that. You have somebody in your class. I've experienced that personally. I'm sure there are many people who have experienced that. You are a group, okay, as boys or as girls, and there's always one that looks like a leader and tells everybody what they need to do, who they need to talk to, how they need to behave. And if you don't do things the way they want, you're going to probably be excluded from the group, because whoever is going to talk to you is going to have issues with them. Does that sound like bullying? Very interesting. I'm going to tell you something, man. I mean, I was part of the bullied people when I was a child. I wasn't a strong, imposing dude. It's very late in life when I started looking for life. That's when I matter of fact, let me remind you, I'm a professional boxer, a world kickboxing champion, former world kickboxing. Look at that. You haven't seen this. The reason why I started doing this is because of my brother. He used to bully me a lot. He will drink his glass of milk and wants to drink my glass of milk. Imagine they will fight each other and he will beat the crap out of me because he was like 3.5 years older than me. I couldn't fight him until I had to go find a boxing club. My father sent me to do boxing. He said, go do some boxing or something. Anyway, I'm going to narrate this story to you some other time.
I will fight for you, for your family, and your future with every breath in my body. God spared my life for a reason, to restore America to greatness. Together we can truly make America great again.
Donald Trump is going to hit any country that's going to buy Venezuela's oil 25% tax. If you buy Venezuela's oil, you're going to get 25% tax on your goods. And that's not very good for your economy. And there's many questions raised here. I think we need to talk about this. You're an African. Thank you very much for stopping by. You're an African-American, Caribbean. You're very much welcome. I think in order to know where you're going in the future, you have to look back and see where you come from. Because in most cases, responses and answers to the future lies in the past. So if you look carefully and you search, you're probably going to find the answers to the things you're looking for today. There's nothing new on earth. Thank you very much for coming by. I appreciate you. Please click on the button, subscribe, and join the group. And also, we have a private group here. Please join so you can profit from things that are more personal, one-on-one, unfiltered, things we cannot necessarily share here. Okay, let's go. So some countries are going to be hit with 25% tax from Trump. if they dare to deal with Venezuela. And I'm sure a lot of people think it's unfair. I mean, why?
We've been ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. We were taken advantage of like nobody's ever seen. And you saw what happened today with Venezuela. We did something with Venezuela, which is long in the making, and it's very substantial.
Who is he to say who must deal with who? I mean, if you live in a fair world, democratic world, where everybody respects each other, then there should be a level of freedom. You know, you cannot impose people who they should be friends with, right? So we're going to try to dive into this to understand why. Well, what is the relationship between Venezuela and the United States of America? The relationship between Venezuela and the United States of America changed. I just killed the United States of America right there. When Venezuela chose to move from whichever capitalist system to a socialist system. Like a capitalistic system is basically where you have a big market, you know, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. That's the reality of it. Okay, that's the reason why you appreciate Jeff Bezos, even though he made a lot of money through COVID, while people, you know how many billionaires became multi-billionaires during COVID? You have no idea. All these companies that shot into your arm became multi-billionaires through that. And it's only later on that they admitted that, in fact, that shooting through the arm was not protecting you from anything, because the CEO himself refused to shoot through his own arm. Let's get back on track. In the meantime, many people were suffering, you know, hidden in the house. They couldn't come out. Let's get back on track. Now, Venezuela changed its system from capitalistic system to socialist. Socialism, basically, theoretically, it's making the market for the people. You're making sure instead of one person having the big chunk of pizza that is 12 pieces, whilst there's 12 people in the room, let's share one piece for everybody. You won't have the big pizza by yourself, or let's have 10 pieces of pizza whilst there are 12 people. Let's share the 12th part of the pizza to 12 people. That's the socialist system Venezuela wanted to implement. And by doing that, they would nationalize companies. Venezuela is one of the biggest producers of oil in the world. Starting with Hugo Chavez, who was a staunch pushback of America, he even called George Bush a devil. He called America an imperialist country looking to overtake and overcome other countries, deprive other countries of their right.
The President of the United States, the gentleman to whom I refer as the devil, came here talking as if he owned the world.
Como dueño del mundo.
Truly, as the owner of the world.
Un psiquiatra no estaría de más.
I think we could call a psychiatrist to analyze yesterday's statement made by the President of the United States.
After Hugo Chavez, there was a president named Maduro who also pushed back the United States of America.
We have defeated previous sanctions, and we will defeat those to come as well, with work, creativity, love, and patriotism. They can sanction and impose tariffs on whoever they want. What they will not be able to sanction is the love and patriotism of the Venezuelan people.
What was Venezuela's goal? I'm telling you the Venezuela's account of things. I know in most cases you hear what America thinks, but not many people hear what Venezuela thinks. Now, Venezuela wanted to make Venezuelan goods available for the Venezuelan people. Make sure the Venezuelans profit from their good, from their money, from their riches, from their oil. They nationalized oil companies, and Americans were not very happy. Why? Because they had invested into oil companies in Venezuela. America pressured Venezuela. Venezuela refused to turn back. America started sponsoring opposition leaders in Venezuela, sending money to human rights companies, and also accusing Venezuela of human rights abuse and negative things and all that. Was Venezuela doing negative things? Probably. Was it accentuated because America didn't need them, didn't lack them? Probably. Why? Because we know some countries that do very, very bad things, and America doesn't make noise about it. Okay, let's continue. Venezuela wanted to keep Venezuelan good for the benefit of Venezuelans. Americans, being capitalistic people, wanted to invest in Venezuela, and after seeing the new fact, they couldn't invest and make money out of Venezuela anymore. Thus, the reason why they decided to sanction Venezuela. Therefore, Venezuela cannot trade with other countries, cannot do business with other countries, because if you do business with Venezuela, then you have an issue with America. So as you know, most European countries will not dare challenge America. Now, this is not the first time something like this has happened, okay? If somebody has a problem with somebody and you have accounts of this very person having issues with other people, you're probably going to go check what they did with other people so you can compare the situation and understand why Paul seemed to be having problems with people. Now, America also has issues with Cuba. This is Cuba on a map. You probably know Cuba from Fidel Castro. Cuba today is under horrific sanctions. The country is poor. Has very difficult situation, not enough goods, not enough medication, not enough of anything at all. If you look at the country, even though it looks beautiful, you can see things are very old. Look at the cars, look at the buildings. They look very old. Why? Because they've been segregated. Who segregated them? Well, the United States of America was one of the key people that pushed Cuba into segregation. Now let's try to understand why did we get to this point? And we're trying to see into the Cuba's point of view. I know most of people hear stories on American point of view. Let's hear Cuba's point of view. Why do you need Cuba's point of view? Because, when we were born, we saw movies of American going to Vietnam and fighting and going to Russia and beating the Russians. All these stories, all these stories tell an account of America being a good person while Vietnam were the bad people. American being the good people while the Russians were the bad people. It's only when I grew up that I found out that actually Americans went to Vietnam uninvited to start a war. Yes, I never knew that. I thought Vietnam was a bad country doing negative things, destroying other countries. It wasn't the truth. We only learned about this as we grew up. That is why you need to see both versions of the story to pull your own conclusion. Now, I know you've heard stories coming from America's mouth. You also need to hear stories coming from the other people's mouth. Cuba does not have any relationship with America. Matter of fact, right now, America still have a military base in Cuba uninvited. So Cuba asked them to leave, but they refused to leave. But they have sanctioned Cuba since the 1960s, where the country cannot get anything and any traction at all. Now just imagine, you don't like a country, you have a piece of land in that country, you stay there by force, even though they've asked you to move and leave, you refuse to leave, but you hit them with multiple sanctions. Now let's try and understand why is this. America accuses Cuba of taking investment without compensation. They say Americans went to Cuba, they invested into the Cuban economy, and when Fidel Castro came, he took over power and he seized goods from America without paying them back. Now let's try to find out, what is America talking about? That's obviously from an American perspective. Now from a Cuban perspective, as some of you know or you may not know, I can't think that everybody knows, the majority of South America was colonized by the Spanish. When they took people from Africa, from all over the place, they went into South America as well to colonize. They beat people up, they did negative things. And that is the main reason why most of South American countries speak Spanish. The Spanish also colonized Cuba for the longest time. But it came a time when Cubans were pushing back against the Spanish. They wanted freedom and their independence. A Cuban Revolution war against the Spanish was horrendous, horrific. Now, around about the same time, the United States of America sent a boat called the USS Maine. In 1898, the USS Maine was leaving America to Cuba. As you look at the map, Cuba is very close to America. Cuba was colonized by the Spanish. The Spanish were fighting against the Cubans that were trying to bring the revolution to Cuba. The United States of America sent USS Maine to go to Havana Harbor in Cuba with the goal of protecting American interests and American people. As the boat, which had military and ammunition, was leaving America going to Cuba, it exploded. Some people accused Spain immediately, saying Spain had put the mine in the water and the mine exploded the boat, unaliving many Americans. Well, later on, some accounts say that there was no objective proof suggesting that the USS Maine was exploded indeed by a mine by Spanish, but indeed there could be a possibility that the ammunition that were in the USS Maine exploded after being in contact with the hot coal. Obviously, back in time, boats moved with coal, hot coal. They use hot coal. So they believe, some investigation, you can check that online, even on YouTube, believe that there was a possibility that the boat exploded from the hot coal going into connection with ammunition. Obviously, it goes kaboom. That is when President William McLean of the United States of America declared war against Spain. They fought against the Spanish. They dislodged the Spanish after 6 months. America took over Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. Okay, so these countries were colonized by the Spanish. America took over these countries. As you understand, America takes over Cuba. Then they sign deals into America starting to influence its presence in Cuba. The United States of America got involved in many areas of Cuba. They invested in sugar, oil, telecommunication. Matter of fact, an American corporation also controlled Cuba telecommunication infrastructure before the revolution. So telecommunication of a country was controlled by another country. The American invested in tobacco, in mining, because Cuba has valuable resources such as nickel, copper, and metals. After the war, US took control of Cuba through a military occupation and was granted significant influence over the island's politics and economics. This marked the beginning of American economic dominance in Cuba. So let's think about this. Cuba was colonized by the Spanish. The Spanish were fighting the Cubans because the Cubans wanted freedom. Americans got involved when their boat got exploded. They declared war against the Spanish, then took over Cuba. In the meantime, we're forgetting the Cubans that were already fighting the Spanish to free the country. Now, American companies control tobacco, mining, sugar, petroleum, telecommunication, and hotels. Well, Fidel Castro came and said, you know what? Then I think something is wrong here. I mean, we pushed the Spanish so we can get freedom. Now you have pushed the Spanish for us, for you to come and replace the Spanish. We're not happy about that. We are nationalizing everything. We are taking everything back for our people. That is when the mayhem between America and Cuba started. America had a military base in Cuba. Cubans asked them to leave. They refused to leave. They said, we're going to stay by force. Up until now, America still have a military base in Cuba. Now, in the meantime, Cuba cannot trade with anybody. They're not allowed. Matter of fact, a few months ago, many countries went to the United Nations. Most of the countries said, okay, let's free Cuba. Let's allow them to leave. And only 2 countries refused. Guess which 2 countries they are? The United States of America and the country you don't name. They refused to allow Cuba to do their own things. So let's recap here. Okay. The US is a capitalistic country. Everything is based on money. So, matter of fact, the main reason why the US and Venezuela don't get along is because Venezuela nationalized the country. In particular, the oil industry. For Venezuela, it was regaining sovereignty. For America, is you are robbing us of things we can get from your country. Then they sanctioned Venezuela. In Cuba, the Cubans were fighting Spanish that had colonized the country for the longest time, same as South America. As the Cubans were fighting Spanish, Americans saw that as an opportunity. This is what Cubans think. For them, the opportunity was, let's kick out the Spanish so we can take over. Well, the Cubans say, well, this is not the reason why we were kicking out the Spanish. We asked them to leave so we can take over our own countries. We did not do that so that you can come and take over. That wasn't the purpose. Then they got into a situation. Cuba got accused of many things. The US even sponsored a probable coup in Cuba. And today, they don't get along. So it's all about interest. Now, let's compare that with today. In 2025, for the war in Ukraine to end, Donald Trump and his group had to discuss with the Ukrainian leader, asking him to give up 50% of their resources for the war to end. 50%. So, no 50%, they kicked him out of the White House. You remember that? Because he did not agree to 50%.
We're telling Ukraine they have very valuable rare earth. We want what we put up to go in terms of a guarantee. We want a guarantee. We're handing them money hand over fist. We're giving them equipment. So we're looking to do a deal with Ukraine where they're going to secure what we're giving them with their rare earth and other things.
When he said, okay, I'm going to give 50%, now they're, okay, we're going to give you back intelligence service. We're going to give you back ammunition. We're going to give you back your things.
As a result of that, and I think as a result of this positive step forward, the president has decided to lift the pause on aid and on our security assistance to Ukraine going forward. And that's effective immediately.
So can we say that the U.S. is only moved by its own interest, financial interest? And it's not the United States of America. We're talking here the big companies. The big companies are owned by individuals. This is not about the country. This is about individuals making money, as opposed to Cuba and Venezuela that want actually to make money for the people. Now, let's think about something. Why is South Africa in the beef for the United States of America? Well, South Africa is one of the countries that still deal with Venezuela in terms of mining, petroleum, and energy. Is South Africa becoming a target because it looks like it's doing things that America doesn't want them to do? Like sending the country you don't name to court, like dealing with Russia. They were accused of sending ammunition to Russia, even though everybody tried to put Russia in a corner. Is America pushing against South Africa? Because South Africa doesn't show much enthusiasm into America capitalism. There's a lot to say, fellas, but let's stop here for now. Let me know how you feel about this. 25% on any country that will deal with Venezuela right now. That's what Donald Trump said. Let me just remind you here, he did the same with Canada, same with Mexico, so same with China. So now it's the pressure. Does this mean we're going to do the things the way we want you to do, or you're going to pay the price for it? If this is the truth, can we say that we live in a world that is free? Let me know how you feel about this. God bless. In most African countries, before you leave your parents' house, you need to be married as a woman. Even if you are 30 years old and you have a job, you will still live by the cottage at your parents' house before you leave. And some people believe when women leave and go stay by themselves, some women who are oriented in that sense, they want to experience the world. It's an opportunity, as opposed to staying with your parents, to have a partner coming over to your house and doing those things. And obviously, when you do that repeatedly because you don't have a stable relationship, you open up to opportunities to either falling pregnant or getting HIV. One of the two. Is abortion something people should look into seriously? Should we give it airtime? abortion within our communities. Should abortion be legalized, decriminalized in African nations? Or should Africa keep those very strong and stringent laws against abortion? Do people have the right to choose whether they want to keep a baby or not, for whichever reason they choose? Do you think abortion is a problem in our society? Now, which are those problems abortion is bringing? Well, do you think the non-abortion thing is also a problem in our societies? Sierra Leone has a debate right now about decriminalizing abortion, meaning they want to go abortion-free or abortion mode. Meaning people from Sierra Leone, ladies, can now go and have an abortion legally without being criminalized.
Certain things in this bill did not, support our religious values and sensibilities. So if on those grounds we are judged to be unfair to women, to be hard-hearted, then so be it.
Let me just remind you, a lot of African countries criminalize abortion. You cannot do it. It's only under restricted condition. Now, let's talk about Sierra Leone. 10,000s of women and girls attempt to self-terminate their pregnancies every year in Sierra Leone, where abortion is illegal. Therefore, the government is reflected, and they want to come up with a law that will decriminalize abortion, allowing young ladies to go and have their abortion done in the safest condition.
By the time they come to the hospital, there will be so many complications which we as we cannot handle, and some of them will not even come to the hospital. So we are trying to reduce maternal deaths, but if abortion bill is not legalized, the moment they want to remove the pregnancy, you cannot stop them. They do it where at the end of the day, it ends up taking their lives.
Now, this is facing a lot of pushback because, supporters of the bill are saying that unsafe abortion accounts to around 10% of maternal death. 10% of maternal death? That's a lot. Healthcare workers are known to perform terminating procedures when the situation is incompatible with the life of a woman, usually in case of incomplete abortion. Because abortion is illegal, they cite other reason for termination. So, in other words, simple English, a lot of ladies in Sierra Leone, after having, encounters with men, surely fall pregnant and they don't want to keep the baby, they go and do self-termination. Sometimes they use sharp objects or they use some pills to